We're going to cross over the desk now, where Alison Sargent joins us for today's press review. Alison, we're starting once again in the UK. A growing scandal there over allegations the government at number 10 Downing Street held a Christmas party last year in the midst of very strict COVID restrictions in London.
These accusations, Hexie, have been circling around the press for a couple of days now, but the latest element adding fuel to the fire is a leaked video that was filmed last year. It shows Downing Street's press secretary joking about the party in a mock press conference. Now, Boris Johnson has repeatedly denied that any parties took place, which is why we read in The Guardian that the Prime Minister is now being accused of lying. Metro News, meanwhile, has dubbed them the number 10 party clowns. The paper writes that officials have tried to brand this party as a business meeting, but Metro points out that even a business meeting would have broken the rules at the time, which limited absolutely essential gatherings to 30 people, and there were reportedly 40 or 50 people at this Downing Street event. It is worth noting also that this is just one of several scandals that is currently plaguing the British government. That's after yesterday's claims from a whistleblower that the UK's chaotic evacuation of Afghanistan saw tens of thousands of Afghan allies left behind. In today's cartoon from Ben Jennings of The Guardian, we see an Afghan family waiting for an evacuation response from the UK. The dad there is saying, "All I had back was an automatic holiday reply from the Foreign Office."
Not a great few days for number 10 Downing Street, it has to be said. Moving now to Germany, the government there getting a fresh start imminently with Social Democrat Olaf Scholz set to take office very, very soon.
Yeah, and the tabloid Bild is wishing Scholz good luck for his first day on their front page. According to Bild, Scholz is a man who has never lacked confidence, even after he saw a series of electoral defeats back in the early 2000s. He reportedly told friends, "Don't worry, I'll be back," and he certainly turned out to be correct. This power handover is a very big deal since it ends the 16-year era of Angela Merkel. But is Germany really turning a page? Well, that's the question Der Tagesspiegel is asking today. The paper writes that there are actually many ways in which the two leaders really resemble each other. Their front page image sort of illustrates that point. Photos of the two leaders with their hands in very similar positions. France's Catholic paper La Croix also writes that Scholz is seeking continuity with Angela Merkel, at least when it comes to her style. But the paper warns that Scholz's government is planning a series of measures that are in conflict with French policy, notably when it comes to Europe, immigration, and renewable energy. And so La Croix is warning that France and Germany are really going to have to learn to compromise if they don't want to see Europe become paralyzed.
And some speculation in papers today that Macron and Scholz won't necessarily have to work together for too long because a new poll here in France shows the French President Macron losing next year's election.
Yes, it shows Macron losing to the newly designated right-wing candidate Valérie Pécresse. La Dépêche du Midi points out that it is actually the very first poll to actually show Macron losing this election. It shows Pécresse getting to the second round and then beating him 52 to 48%. The paper writes that Emmanuel Macron's team is actually starting to get really worried about Valérie Pécresse. Meanwhile, the Huffington Post calls this poll a mini earthquake. Still, the website does point out that it's pretty normal for a candidate to surge in the polls right after they've been nominated. That doesn't necessarily mean that this popularity is going to last for Pécresse. The Huffington Post actually quotes Pécresse herself, who said, "Polls come and go like the wagging of a dog's tail."
And also making headlines here in France today, Notre-Dame Cathedral, church authorities set to announce new plans for renovating the landmark.
These plans are set to be announced on Thursday. They actually have to deal with renovating the inside of the cathedral, not the outer parts of it that were mainly the parts destroyed in the 2019 fire. As we read in Le Figaro, the plans have a number of historians and other political figures up in arms. 100 of them have signed an open letter in the paper. Now, they take issue with plans for movable benches, lights that would change with the seasons, and video projections on the walls of the cathedral, which would include Bible verses in different languages. According to the writers of this letter, these additions fall into a trend of trying to create accessible and immersive cultural experiences, but they say that they are foolish and kitschy and will ultimately ruin the cathedral's historic integrity.
Well, finally, from you, Alison, you have a pronunciation test for us. based on this year's most mispronounced words on TV. I'm already a little bit scared. Tell us more.
Like I say, I already quizzed you last time on some of the main ones, but for any viewers who missed it, you can see some of those main words on the front on The Guardian today. These words are pronounced Cheugy, the first one, a word used by Generation Z to describe sort of basic millennial aesthetic. The next one is Glasgow, not Glasgow, as Americans like me might want to say it. And then Eilish, as in the singer Billie Eilish. Now, another one people got wrong is the name of the new coronavirus variant. Do you want to give that one a try, Hexy?
Omicron.
Omicron, perfect. So Omicron is, the Guardian actually explains that there are two answers, and Omicron, strangely, is apparently the American pronunciation, although you are, of course, British. They say that the more British one would be Omicron, which I haven't heard a lot of people say, and I think maybe Greeks might actually take issue with both of these pronunciations. So the jury's kind of still out on Omicron, but Omicron is definitely safe. And then I also have a test for Stephen, if you want one. Stephen, can you name the cryptocurrency beginning with D that has a picture of a dog on it?
Dogecoin.
Dogecoin. Dogecoin is correct, and that's another word that a lot of people got wrong. So you guys are golden, and of course, it's worth noting that this list comes from American television. So I guess as France 24, we are a little bit better than the average.
As was Sargent with a look through today's papers. Also, some quiz elements for me and Stephen. Thank you very much. Pleased that we didn't embarrass ourselves too much.